Hello, my name is Ben Wolkoff, and welcome to the first daily anti-fascist video of Inspired Defiance. Today I was inspired by the terrible, awful, no good, very bad speeches that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth made to the highest ranking officials in the US military. And while it was filled with hate, it was filled with nonsense, ideology, and very unpopular ideas, it did inspire me to speak out on platforms that I've used in the past, because as I type on my typewriters, which I own 13 of, I noticed that that was not reaching an audience of anyone else besides me. And while I don't think that this video series is going to have a grand impact, it strikes me that every day that I don't speak out about the terrible things that are going on and plunging us deeper into authoritarian fascism, the worse it's going to be for all of us. And so I'm specifically calling out fascism. I'm specifically calling out where people are using hate and covering it over with the idea of strength or of policy, which it's not really policy. Hate is just hate. And I would love to take a look at the things that are inspiring me to speak. So let's start with those speeches and talk a little bit about what was said there, as well as kind of what I think we should be inspired to do about it. So I kind of see the speech, especially that Pete Hegseth was giving, around the idea that the male standard is the thing that we should be striving for, either in our military or in life in general. I saw the emphasis on this male body standard that many men are either not able, not interested in, or not willing to subject themselves to, or the rest of the United States. But Pete Hegseth and his ideology are definitely interested in trying to create this fit, unquestioning manhood that is only one thing. And I have talked many years about how being a man is not one thing, it is many different things, and there is no one right way to be a man. And yet that's what they're holding up. That's what this speech was about. And it was saying, and he was saying, that if you are not with this ideology, if you are not willing to be fit, if you are not willing to drive out anyone who is not this male standard, not to this male standard, then you don't belong, right? Donald Trump made mention before he began his remarks officially that people were free to leave the room if they wanted to. But he said that if they left the room, they would lose their rank and they would lose their future. Which I think there are some people who are probably willing to do that. But at the same time, I don't think that it should be a loyalty oath to one man in order to keep your job. And essentially, Pete Hegseth said that everyone there serves at the pleasure of the president. And while I think perhaps in words that might be strictly true in the fact that, yes, the president could have anybody fired, they don't serve the president. They serve the Constitution, and they serve the will of the people, which clearly are not in favor of this kind of attitude, of this kind of rhetoric. And so, to me, these speeches come with a heavy price. When you say that that we should use U.S. cities as training grounds for war, that we are at war with the enemy within, that means that we are going to use force against our fellow U.S. citizen, against the people in our communities. And that is both scary and wrong. And I think maybe it's okay to call out when we've run up against rhetoric that's just wrong. We should not be at war with the people in our community. I don't care if they are somehow this version of other that you see as different from yourself. It doesn't require empathy to not believe that we should be at war within our own neighborhoods, our own cities, our own environments. We should not be looking for war. We should not be looking for struggle and to define our fellow man, our fellow person, our fellow human as the enemy. We shouldn't be looking for reasons to do that. We should be looking for ways to connect, for ways to build community, for ways to find solutions that don't require everyone to be armed, that don't require us to see one another as the enemy. There is no enemy within our United States. There are people. There are humans, and they are our brothers and sisters. And they are people that require our respect, and they require human rights. To me, that is the focus. That is the ideal. We don't always hit it. We certainly can be bigoted. We certainly can be struggling for that kind of community. But that doesn't mean that we should turn our back on it. Our cities are not training grounds for war. They are our cultural hubs. They are the places that we love to go and find others. We love to build things in our cities. And it's not just the sky rises, these temples to capitalism that we do there. We actually do lots of cultural and important things, important work by seeing one another more fully. I also want to call out the fact that the government is going to shut down tonight. I don't see anyone pulling us back from the brink, mostly because there's no way to do it. We either fund healthcare or we are going to shut down. It seems pretty simple to me that if we can find hundreds of billions of dollars for Argentina, if we can find hundreds of billions of dollars for funding war and making terrible decisions about weapons and about creating a culture of fear, then we could probably invest in healthcare, invest in one another. But when the government shuts down, Trump has said, and will continue to say, that he is going to use this as an opportunity to purge a huge number of people. And even without the shutdown, there are over 100,000 federal workers that were in the deferred resignation program. And so each one of those people we're going to lose anyway. I don't want to lose people who are doing great work, who are building the capacity of our country. It is not pro-democracy to eliminate huge portions of care for one another. It is not pro-community, pro-United States. It is not making us a better nation in order to lose our capacity to fund aid, to fund farmers, right? To fund healthcare. These are like basic rights, food, right? Like safety and health, right? Like these are things that I would think we could find consensus on. But instead, we are engaged in this terrifying exploit of non-issues, right? We don't have to say that any way of being is alien, is creating an enemy. We don't have to do it. We have an option to simply speak to one another with kindness and to push back on and complain and use our pocketbooks anytime someone says that hatred is the only option, because it isn't. It absolutely isn't. We don't have to allow others to dictate the terms here. When the government shuts down at the end, it's like midnight tonight, right? When it happens, most things will continue. Most people do not have federal jobs. But the things that won't continue, the things that really require funding, are on the margins of our society. The care that we give to the least, or those that have the least, is how we show who we are as a nation. And right now, what we are showing is that we are not a nation that cares. We are not a nation that is going to give anything. We are a nation of hatred. And that's not what I believe. And I think that that's not what a huge numbers of people believe. It is insane to choose hatred when kindness is an option. Thank you for watching this very first, hopefully not the last, daily anti-fascist video of Inspired Defiance.